Earthquake style, too subtle to suspect.
Hello, it's Ruby and welcome back to these Italy travel vlog. This is the third and final one I'm uploading. I first uploaded a morning routine, then a main vlog of our holiday, and then finally today I'm going to be sharing our day at Vesuvius and Pompeii, which was definitely the highlight of the trip for me. On the way to the airport, we went to Pompeii and Vesuvius. Pompeii was our first stop. This historic city was of course the victim of the 79 CE eruption of Mount Vesuvius. We're lucky because the Vesuvius eruption is documented in 2 letters by Pliny the Younger. These letters are short and definitely worth reading. In his first letter he writes, "About 1 in the afternoon, my mother pointed out a cloud with an odd size and appearance that had just formed." So he describes how his uncle left to see what the cause of the fire was. Pliny imagines what happened to him once he left the house on the boat to get close to Vesuvius. And he tells a kind of story of what happened to lead to his death. And the first letter ends by saying, "And then he suddenly collapsed and died, because, I imagine, he was suffocated when the dense fumes choked him." Then in the second letter, Pliny the Younger describes what he saw and heard. "The cloud sank down soon afterwards and covered the sea, hiding Capri." He describes a dreadful black cloud was torn by gushing flames and great tongues of fire. But it was not the darkness of a moonless or cloudy night, but it was just as if the lamps had been put out in a completely closed room. We could hear women shrieking, children crying and men shouting. Some were calling for their parents, their children or their wives, and trying to recognise their voices. After a while the darkness paled into a smoke or cloud, and the real daylight returned, but the sun shone as wanly as during an eclipse. We were amazed by what we saw because everything had changed and was buried deep in ash like snow. However, Pliny the Younger doesn't actually mention the name Pompeii at all in his letters, and so Pompeii wasn't discovered until 1748. And when it was discovered, it was of massive interest, as you can imagine. We are here at Pompeii. We're seeing Pompeii and Vesuvius today, and it's our last day, and I'm so excited because I wanted to see this since I was maybe like 7 or 8. Also, we're in a rush. Visiting Pompeii, it was really cool to see how it operated on a daily basis. It's a city frozen in time, which is actually totally remarkable. Ancient civilizations always are, and they give an insight into a world which is like, but also not like our own. It shows our own temporality, maybe how we're not unique. It's a memento mori. Pompeii is of course one of the best preserved ancient civilizations.
This must be one of the best preserved sites in the world.
So we just learned that all of this walkway here would have been for sewage, and so that's why there are these stones. So you could cross the street, you just jump over them.
Thinking that water has worn this away over the years and just kind of made this channel, you know, the water's going to find its way down, isn't it?
Isn't that amazing how the tiniest thing can make a change like that? It's actually surprising that there isn't more grass. So look at this, you can see the lava here. It's like basalt. So you've got like the normal rock, and then here it's like black, and I'm assuming that this is where the lava went solid. But Pompeii is more than this, more striking than Machu Picchu, because actual people's bodies are here, and most strikingly these are bodies frozen in the positions that they were in when the volcano erupted. The bodies are in a contained room which you can look through the glass in, and this one was particularly hard hitting. It's a mother holding her child close, and that could be anyone today. We're all the same really, and it makes history more present. Visiting Pompeii shows why it's important, that it's more than just facts and memorization. It's a reminder of what it is to be human.
Next was Vesuvius, which I was even more excited for. I've wanted to climb this volcano since I read the Violent Volcanoes book when I was 7 or 8. Before we visit though, I wanted to tell you how volcanoes work in very, very basic terms. This is a throwback to GCSE geography. The many hours that I spent researching volcanoes when I was a young child because I really liked volcanoes. So there are 2 types of volcano, and Mount Vesuvius is a composite cone. These are the volcanoes which we see in the news and which cause real destruction, like the E15 volcano in Iceland, which erupted in 2010. And that's exactly what happened with Pompeii. Composite cones form on destructive plate boundaries, which is basically where 2 tectonic plates are moving closer together and then one goes underneath the other. Lots of pressure builds up here until suddenly that pressure is kind of released through a volcanic eruption. And that's exactly what happened with Pompeii. Shield volcanoes erupt regularly, sometimes all the time, but composite cones do not, and the people at Pompeii apparently didn't even know that it was going to erupt. But I will stop rambling and get back to the hike, which was only about 45 minutes, but felt like a lot longer because it was just so hot. Really nice.
Looks to be like, yes, everyone, I Mount Vesuvius, we didn't climb the whole thing. We got like a car ride up to halfway through. So we're walking up Mount Vesuvius and it's so hot. We chose the worst time. It's like 2 p.m. and it's probably, how hot is it?
Oh, about 30.
We're probably about a third of the way, halfway.
Oh god, don't say that. We're almost there.
Okay, we're basically there. The view is amazing. So that's Naples down there. Emily Dickinson wrote about Mount Vesuvius and was very fascinated by Naples in relation to Mount Vesuvius. Did you know that?
I did because you told me.
Oh, sorry.
Now on my bucket list has been to read Emily Dickinson at Mount Vesuvius because I know that she was fascinated by the image of the volcano and particularly by Mount Vesuvius and how Pompeii was buried in ash. And the poem I ended up reading, which I recorded me reading, is one that I particularly love because it shows how she was interested in the world beyond her bedroom, links to her own internal experiences. She makes the volcano something personal and she does it very, very well. A still volcano life that flickered in the night when it was dark enough to without erasing sight. A quiet, earthquake style too subtle to suspect by nature's this side Naples the north cannot detect. The solemn and horrid symbol, the lips that never lie, whose hissing corals part and shut, and cities ooze away. And that's from Emily Dickinson, but I thought it was in this collection. It's not. It's her poem. I'll find the number for you. 601. And Emily Dickinson was really fascinated by volcanoes, but especially Mount Vesuvius, because in the 1800s I started excavating Pompeii. So really, really cool, and really cool to like read that poem and like think about it. Yeah. Camilla Denman has written on how Dickinson's poem uses volcanic punctuation here. The dashes are disruptive and violent, and she writes about how this is contained within much more still and calm exteriors, like the city's oozing away and still volcano life. She uses this to show and argue that Dickinson's punctuation is rebelling against language expectations, which it definitely is. Did you actually know that the first publishers of Emily Dickinson's poems altered the punctuation so it was more orthodox? So instead of putting dashes, they changed them into colons or commas or full stops, and that completely takes away from what she is trying to do with language, how she's trying to rebel against these structures. I would recommend reading some of her other poems about volcanoes, like these 2, which I put on the screen. It's actually very strange, like, it's very different to what I was expecting it to be, like a typical volcano, and I don't know what I was suspecting exactly, but the scale is just so hard to fathom, because there's nothing, you know, man-made, which is a clear size, and so in a weird way, it's
less impressive but also more impressive than from far away. I don't know.
It's like a sunset.
So that brings us to the end of the video. I'm sorry that I did not round up this video very well. We were all absolutely exhausted after that hike in the sun, so I just didn't feel like filming. I loved Italy and I found the whole space so inspiring, and it feels like it refreshed my creativity, and I really want to go travelling again soon now. I want to travel somewhere else and learn something new in the process. Learn from these incredible, historic, rich cultural locations. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a productive week.